One of the big long-running issues in gaming right now is the concept between digital and physical games. Now, many other gamers like myself prefer a physical base of games, that way we can have our games forever. There is a big move right now, particularly by companies, to make every single game be completely digital and on a completely digital format. Now, this isn't something so technically new to gamers, as Steam has been running their games digitally for years. The push recently with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox moving to all digital systems and having some game companies even release their games only digitally has caused a lot of tension in the gaming community, as a lot of people are still very much in the boat that we should have these physical games available to us, as so many of these digital copies of these games are very volatile in the sense that they can be removed from the stores at any given point. We recently saw this with the PlayStation Store trying to be shut down, and a lot of people reached out to PlayStation and said, hey, please don't do that, we're still buying games on here, we're still using these old consoles. The retro gaming community as of late has really grown, which is awesome, and this is part of the reason why so many people are into getting physicals right now. But the issue with those physicals is sometimes if you don't already own that retro game but you want to play it and it's not available on newer consoles, you have to spend somewhere of upwards of $300, $400, $500 just to play a retro game, which gets some people into the realm of emulation, and you get to the legality of emulation. We can talk about that in a different video. But where physical versus digital becomes a really big issue is that I don't think physical game sales are going to go away forever, however, they are definitely dwindling. So many people now say you want to get the game right on release day, you want to play it right when the game releases. You can just download the game at midnight the day it releases and start playing it immediately. I've actually done this with several games myself, like Monster Hunter Rise, Super Smash Bros. It was awesome. I didn't have to go to the store, I could just start playing the game right away. The issue is if the Nintendo Store ever shuts down, or the console gets so old that they just stop pushing out updates with it, or, you know, the Switch is probably only going to last so long as it is, it may just break down and no longer be usable, I may not be able to access those games anymore, which is why there's such a push for having physical games in order to preserve games, which I guess is really more what this video about, is the preservation of video games, and how the idea of what's preserved is changing. Because now, right, we can preserve saves on like Xbox, for example, across multiple systems. I can log into Halo on my computer or my Xbox and start off in the same exact place as I previously was, and it's seamless, and it's awesome. But there's also the sense that if either of those stores ever decide to close down and those digital copies don't exist anymore, I can no longer play that game. Now, games are not something that is permanent, unfortunately. There are some games that are just lost to the age of time, and it stinks, but that's just what it is. There's several copies of games where they get maybe released digitally and then pulled down and never brought back, and the only way to get them is through some shady websites, and unfortunately that's just what it is. But I think we're kind of in a golden age of gaming here, where we can have the choice to choose whether or not we want to be physical or digital, or most people are kind of in a blend of both, where they have some physical copies, some digital copies. For me, there's some games where it doesn't really matter if it's digital or physical. Like, I'm gonna be playing Super Smash Bros. Digitally, and that's fine. If that game goes away, there's probably gonna be some other fighting game to play in the future. But with games like Xenoblade, for example, which is what a lot of my channel is based on, those have to be physical because the Xeno series is known for marking up many years later and being removed from stores and being very difficult to get. Now, luckily, Xenoblade the past couple of years has grown a lot, and so it's more popular, so they're making more copies, but they are also selling out still. Xenoblade 2 came out, I believe, 2016, 2018? No, Switch came out in 2017, so Xenoblade 2 came out 2018, I believe is the correct year on that. It's still selling out 4 years later? That's insane. And so it's crazy to think some of these games can get so popular that you can't get a physical copy even if it's a current generation game for that console, And that's what leads some people to go out and get the digital copies, as it's going to save them a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of headache. But then if Nintendo ever decides to close down those stores, you may not be able to access those games ever again. And I don't have a perfect solution for this, but I think it's really on us as part of the gaming community to reach out to these companies and tell them that we want to preserve these games, right? Like when Sony was trying to shut down the PlayStation Store, a lot of people reached out to Sony and they brought the store back up and it wasn't shut down. And so I think it's on the community to communicate with these companies to let them know we want to keep these games, we want to preserve gaming. So we have to make this move to make sure that all of these digital stores don't close and that these games still stay available for an extended period of time. Now, whether or not that'll actually happen, I think is up to the companies and up to the community. But I think this is just a really interesting thing that's going on right now in gaming, and this phenomenon of being between digital and physical, whether or not the convenience of having it digital is worth the risk of losing it physically. And even in terms of physical games, there's some older consoles that don't get updated anymore, and you have to connect to their online services to play the game, but if the online services are no longer there, you can no longer play that game even if you have it physically, and that's a whole nother... Oh my goodness, knocked into my stand. It's a whole nother world of a video that we could be making and discussing. Now, when I think of an all-digital future for gaming, it doesn't exactly get me excited, but also looking back at the all-physical world of gaming of the past, there's some issues there that also arisen, right? Like, if you were able and capable enough to have collected and amassed this giant collection as you were growing up, that's great, but it also doesn't help to preserve these games entirely, as if, I don't know if you've looked at the retro market recently, but it's absolutely out of the water insane right now. And so by allowing a digital market, more people have access to these games, and so there's a big push in gaming to be moving to a market to get more games available to more people, which is great. We have a larger expansion of being able to bring more games to more people and creating this greater accessibility. And that's, to me, the best part of this, is the excitement that anyone can now access these games if they aren't able to get it physically. I think this point of greater accessibility is great for people who don't live near a gaming store where they can pick up the games or easily have the games shipped to them online. They can just go and buy it. Or maybe because of other reasons they're not able to get out of the house and go and grab these games, they can now just easily get them, or if the games sell out, there's just so much more availability to people to be able to game and do things without having to amass a physical collection. Like, if I go grab my Switch collection, hold on. This isn't even all of them, and it's bigger than my head. This takes up so much space, and even the little cartridges that go inside of these take up a lot of space, right? And so if you're traveling, especially in the case of Switch users, right, we want to keep everything as mobile and as portable and as easily to move around as possible. Having this around is kind of insane, and so I have a lot of friends who only have digital libraries, as it's much easier to just move around and travel with those. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. I know you guys can't see that, but I can see those metrics. And leave a comment down below of what do you think about the digital versus all physical world that we're in right now. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a rant today. I just kind of wanted to quickly get a video out and talk about this concept, as it's something that's just really been interesting me recently as someone who's collecting and looking at retro games and the preservation of games and how they don't last forever. It was something I just wanted to discuss with all of you, so leave a comment down below of what you think the future will hold. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.